Thanks, Alex, and good morning as well from me to you. So, compared to the previous talk, I will step back a little bit and I will not show you any tool. I will not present you an explicit method or something like that. The main message I want to have here is that what are the challenges and what are the focus points of the challenges in today's software quality world that is related very much to IoT from my point of view, that's also related very much to artificial intelligence, and give you a few hints. What are the topics you have to be aware of, you have to focus your awareness of, you have to focus your efforts to achieve quality, for software development. That has a lot to do with awareness and with skills. So that's a little explanation of this little bit complicated topic. Maybe some of you wonder what does that mean, tackling the challenges of IoT and artificial intelligence. So I will talk a little bit about the Internet of Things, about artificial intelligence. First of all, we had that a few months ago. If you are aware of those challenges, if you are a little bit frightened of those challenges, then I issued one part of my message. And then the second part is how to tackle those challenges. What kind of skills do you need? What kind of awareness do you need? Okay, not too many words about me. I'm in the business for 25 years. I lie, it's 24 years now, but quite a long time in industry, in industrial environments, in research, and also in organizational work, OMG, German Testing Board, especially where I'm currently the executive director. And the commercial break for half a minute. Who of you does know ISDQB and German Testing Board? So quite a lot, that's okay, but I see this blue block here, does not know about that. So a brief explanation. German Testing Board is, let's say, the German chapter of ISDQB. ISDQB is a worldwide non-profit association. You see all the regions in the world covered here that represents people certification scheme, currently a complex people certification scheme for software quality. So, but this is the end of the commercial break. So a few words about IoT, and in this moment I also issue, first of all, I issue a question. Maybe it's a wrong question, but let me see. Who of you can explain me what is the technology of IoT? Some impressions? Feel free. Sasha, you look at your smartphone. You would be the best one to explain what is the new technology of IoT.
Yeah, as I already said, doing testing glasses, for us it's nothing new. It's just to collect something that is already there, but it had to be connected, let's say. It has to be, I mean, you have to use the, let's say, the essence of all of them.
Exactly, that's my message here. There's nothing new about that. Who of you is working in automotive, in embedded things like that, avionics? So you do IoT for the last 30 or 40 years. The only thing about IoT, and that's why this buzzword has been figured out in the last few years only, is that you now have increasing number. You know what IoT is. IoT means that more and more objects of the world, of our real world, get their twins to enter the software world, the IT world via the internet. That's all about IoT, and it's nothing new, but the fast increasing number of those objects, the scaling factor, that's the thing that now really enters our world, enters the market. And also enables new kinds of orchestration of software products, of software systems. So this scaling factor is the thing that is changing technology now. So what are the characteristics and what are the key challenges of IoT? First of all, it's a very heterogeneous world. So that means that interdisciplinary activities are a very important thing to manage those challenges. You do not only talk with your project manager, you do not only talk with one customer, you now in this world talk with totally different systems, you talk with the complete outside world. So that means that even companies that you would not expect to enter those IoT discussions, like, I'm recorded, so I would not tell the names. A lot of companies that you would not expect because they deliver pure IT systems are now entering those IoT discussions because they know that the brake in their car also is relevant for their system at the end. So, and a second very important thing is that IoT is all about data, all about big data, and somehow also all about future data. So if you have a product now, you will not exactly know what kind of data will be there for this product in 1 year, even maybe in 1 month. And that's a very challenging thing also to develop sustainable products and to guarantee the quality of products that are meant as sustainable products. Okay, and you have a high degree of scalability. I come to this explanation now. Maybe most of you will remember this Arabic Spring. You do? Or who does not? Okay, I was there. Okay, and from my point of view, that also was kind of a scaling factor of people entering social media that made up effects that maybe even the CIA did not expect 1 year prior. And we now have the same scaling factor in our technological world. So that's the first thing I think we should be aware, that we can expect that something will happen that we do not expect in this technical world. Also related to the quality and also related to the business ideas of the products we are delivering in an IoT world. So I will not show all the slides because I have 40 of them or something like that. And by the way, if you have any question and we can start kind of a discussion, we can do that anytime because I can set focus points here, so that should not be a problem. So what are the major challenges? One focus point, I think, is that with the data-driven value chains that come in very brightly now, and you have and the heterogeneous world, you have different usage profiles than maybe I have learned what software, what IT should be when I entered industry 20 years ago. So when I did that, the whole world, 20 years ago, the whole world was functional, things like that, where maybe the developers of that were not yet born or whatever. Things are changing. So you are now used to have your smartphone maybe also as an operational basis for all you do in work. you are sitting at home and you get an alert if your device is not working at the factory, if the plant is not working, whatever. That are different usage profiles that you have to be aware of when you think of quality. You have what also is in the usage profile, you have long operation lifetimes. So I know another company, I will not issue the name here as well, that makes a lot of business with equipping usual hardware stuff with IoT components. And in a talk of that company, I have learned the example of coffee machines. Coffee machines that you see in an Italian restaurant are maybe 50 or 60 years old. Those things are very valuable and so on. And you have to equip that with IoT, maybe to provide something like maintenance or whatever. And you maybe expect them to live for another 50 years. So that's also something you have to be really aware of when dealing with IoT. You have an exploding number of variants. Who of you can give me a number of, if I want to test this device, how many variants should I test? Just, we know, as a tester, we know that it's impossible to test everything, that's true. But if you want, for every variant, if you want to have one test, how many tests do you need? So an auction, who has more? Thousands? No, it's someone estimated that with 2 million. So that's something you could not do. And that's only one device. This device is connected to the outside world. In principle, if you want to really ensure quality, you have to take into account also all the variants of the outside world. So, and the next thing, that is what I said before, I expect something like, not the Arabic Spring, but the Spring of Things. Something unexpected that will definitely happening with this environment of connecting everything with everything. A lot of buzzwords, you have your smart factory, smart home, smart city, smart data, and so on. And in previous versions, I had, in the middle of this slide, I had my Facebook account. That's not completely true, but you know what I mean. You often connect those worlds in the internet via one account, or sometimes it's a little bit easier to do that, and you do that then. There's a danger in that. So in principle, the brake in your car can talk to the fridge in your smart home, or maybe even to the control center in the plant you are working for. And that's something, especially together with the scaling effect, that's quite new. So some concerns, this is from an Eclipse study, and the major concern is the concern of security. By the way, I asked Axel to use this slide. Security, that's the first buzzword as a message. Beware of the security of your system. That will be one of the most important things in this IoT and artificial intelligence world to be aware of to ensure security. And that's often forgotten, or at least by parts forgotten, that security, testing security, ensuring security is a big part of quality of systems. And you have a lot of components that are interacting and that are dynamically building up connections, releasing connections, and so on. This sometimes reminds me of, or the first time I saw that, that reminded me of something. Do you have any idea? Does that remind you of something? Just an idea? Okay. Okay, no. Maybe later, we do not have lunch so far. That reminds me of a brain. Your neurons and the synapses. And it works a little bit similar like a brain. You have your components, the neurons, that build up connections and release connections very dynamically. That also is IoT, and you have to be aware of that to ensure quality. And those were 4 focus points you have to be aware of. The 5th one, not to go into the detail of that, is artificial intelligence that had, even in the last year, not so much known, not so much a buzzword 2 years or 3 years ago, but every month now you have some news about artificial intelligence that talks to each other, and the provider does not even know what it talks about, or that even in this Microsoft case, that even became something like a Nazi chatbot. And Microsoft tried to fix that, but they did not manage that. And that's what it is. Artificial intelligence is, first of all, it's a black box. You can have a look into the algorithm, how the AI learns, but after this learning process is finished, you do not really know how it works inside. So in this case, Microsoft tried to fix it, released it again, and 1 or 2 days later, the chatbot again was Nazi. So, coming to the second part, to sum up what I told you a little bit in the sense of what can I do. By the way, the first part in my agenda always has this title, A Phantom Menace. Do you know where that comes from? Yeah. So the very first episode where this darkness was seen for the first time. I think we are exactly in this stage of projects where we do not really know what will be challenging, but we know that it is challenging. So, what we need are new paradigms. What we need is awareness of where are the focus points we have to take care, where are the focus points where we should look at to achieve quality. And the first thing to do that is to know about the quality aspects that are important. So as I said, I started in this business long time ago, and when I started in the industrial environment with testing, quality assurance, everything was functional testing. 99.9% functional testing, nothing else. That's maybe 15, 20 years ago. So by now, I think a few topics have already arrived in industry. Performance as an important quality aspect, and also usability as an important quality aspect, and safety and security. But I'm quite sure that this topic, safety and security, IT security, is still underestimated. So the projects that I see still focus on this functional aspect. And from my point of view, that's wrong, to do that, because those aspects are very important. If you do not care about usability, you will not be able to sell your product. You know that a colleague of mine tells me when his daughter installs an app here and it does not work, it is not seen as sexy within 5 seconds, then throw it away. Usability is very important. But as I said, sustainable products that also have to sustain in harsh environments, out in the fields, on a plant, wherever, near to the hardware it's working for. So reliability and robustness will also be very important quality aspect. And of course, interoperability, that's for sure. But the last thing I will come to now is this ethics aspect. Who would support me that ethics is a quality aspect? Yeah. Okay, not 100%, only 50%, so I think we have to think about that a little bit more. Coming back to this Nazi chatbot, that's a topic, but also I explain you something I heard about 2 years ago at a conference where there was a talk about ethics and IoT or software or something like that, and in the discussion afterwards they talked about this problem of the two cars that talk to each other and have to decide which of the drivers will die and which of the drivers will survive. And a lot of experienced engineers came to the result that the 70-year-old lady that cannot have a baby anymore should die, and the 30-year-old that can have a baby should survive. Not a joke. So, sorry? At least in Germany, that's not legal, because we have one of our main topics in our legal system is that every life has the same value. We learned that after the Second World War, I think. But this talk was in Vienna. Maybe they have other legal environments. So, but that's very, very important to make up our mind about ethics, and ethics is a thing that is not yet really discussed. So, what do you have to do? I think one main aspect is this shift left and shift right topic to ensure quality on software. It's not sufficient only to test at the end, or maybe okay in an agile project in between, but at the end of the productive steps of the software, you have to take care about those quality aspects that we have seen from the very beginning. So the product you have to be aware to preserve architectures that support this data-oriented value chain. Edge computing, things like that are important. You have to be aware that you can develop totally different, totally new business processes that are supported by your product. Take Uber, for example. Uber has no taxis, Uber has no drivers, but it's a taxi company. That's an example of make up your mind that the world is much larger now, because you can reach everything out there, so to say, in an IoT world with your software. Of course, you need the right effective and automated processes for that. For the testing world, especially important, of course, is things like model-based approaches, also for development, of course, and automation of the test process, for example with TTC3, but of course there are much more things you can make here. And you have to be able to apply variant management. And from the testing point of view, very important is to have in mind what are the quality aspects that I showed a few slides before. What are the priorities of those quality aspects? That security, that ethics has priorities, and then perform a risk analysis and an analysis of your quality objectives, test objectives and quality objectives that you should prioritize. Test automation, of course, but not only test automation is important, also monitoring will come in with IoT, because you need an insight in the quality of your products that are already in the field. So the test, the quality assurance and the monitoring of that spreads into the field, and that's something I think you should be aware of when you deliver those products. Even maybe sustaining products should be able to learn and improve themselves even in the field. That will be very important from my point of view. And from the testing methods, we have everything. We could not test everything, that's clear, but we have everything. But due to the fact that it's even now more effort needed to look at the prioritized quality aspects, I also think that the methods we have seen in the previous talk, like product certification, you have been talking about a kind of product certification, will become more important in the future of software quality and in an IoT world. And there are examples also, that is nothing new. You had those product certifications as a standard in telecommunication industries for 30 years or more, I do not know. And the essential test targets should be, or test targets that have a higher priority should be IT security, interoperability, performance, and usability. So I have too many of those slides. I'm coming to the last one. That's also a little bit the commercial break. Coming back to this German testing board and talking about skills and people certification, skills are very important, and ISTQB has delivered people certification that had a good effect, I think, to establish a de facto standard, to establish a common glossary for testing. And now we are doing the same in a high quality way that we learned from 15 years of experience doing things like that for IoT, with a certificate for quality engineering for IoT. So just to give you a sketch, because I think that skills will be, awareness and skills will be the first thing that you need to achieve quality. That's the whole portfolio of ISTQB nowadays, that now also covers those things like usability testing, like security testing, and where do we have it, like performance testing. At least it will at the end of the year when those certificates are released. So the conclusion is IoT is nothing new, but it has a lot of new challenges. The methods are all there, but we have to be aware of the focus points, and we have to provide the skills to tackle those challenges. Thanks. 5 minutes for questions, perfect. Awesome sauce. What questions do you have?
I have one question regarding the product certification. You mentioned that this would become the most important thing. But the problem with the product certification is that things are evolving very fast. And the certifications or the standardizations which I have seen, they are still 10 years